All right, this brings us to agenda item 12, discuss and act on order providing for the issuance and sale of Rockwall County, Texas permanent improvement bonds, Series 2026, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $50 million, levying a tax and payment thereof, providing for the award of the sale thereof in accordance with specified parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase agreement and a paying agent/registrar agreement, approving the official statement and enacting other provisions relating to the subject in all related issues. Miss Lisa, Miss Marty.
Judge, I will kick it off for Marty, our financial advisor from Hilltop Securities. She's the best, so if you have any questions, please direct them to her. And not this direction, but to her, please.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners, members of staff. Marti Shew with Hilltop Securities. As you are aware, we've been here a couple times before court. We are just continuing with the issuance process to generate the $50 million needed for your road projects. This is the next step in the issuance process. This is the last court approval that we would need for a parameter ordinance. The ordinance sets forth a series of parameters. I like to think of those as check boxes that have to occur for the sale to be met. The most important of those is a maximum issuance size of $50 million and a maximum interest rate, which we currently have drafted as 5%. You're also approving a pricing officer who will have the ability to move forward and execute the pricing when it's time. And then you have a delegation, or you have an expiration of the delegated authority. So it's set for 6 months. So ultimately, we would have to price the bonds within a 6-month period. This gives you a lot of flexibility. So by adopting the parameter ordinance, you are allowing us to prepare the issue to move into day-to-day readiness so that we can time the market when the interest rates are most favorable to you. So that's the process as we've been moving forward. We have been drafting an offering document. We have that almost ready and finalized for posting out to the public. As part of this process, we did have to apply for and purchase bond ratings. We have completed the rating process. The county met with both S&P Global and Fitch Ratings, and I am pleased to report that both rating agencies have affirmed S&P the AA plus credit rating and Fitch the AAA credit rating. This is very significant, and I want to take a moment to congratulate the county because the credit ratings are very important. They are much like you or I, our own personal credit ratings. The higher your personal credit rating, the lower the cost of borrowing when you go to apply for a mortgage or purchase a car. The same holds true for the county. So the higher your credit rating, the lower the cost of borrowing when you go to issue bonds. It's important and very significant to note that you are at the highest possible rating for Fitch. So congratulations, AAA. You are as high as it gets, and you are only one notch away from a perfect score from S&P. So this will translate to lower borrowing costs for your bonds. And just to give you an idea of where we are, because I have prepared a tax rate impact analysis. This is the same, what I just passed out, it's the same worksheet that we provided previously for an estimate on where your bonds will sell and what our estimated tax rate impact analysis is. And just as a recap, in terms of this worksheet, we start with your current assessed value, your taxable assessed value, and then we give it a projection for growth moving forward. We have assumed 4% for next year, 4.32 in terms of growth. We've tried to be conservative. We layer in your existing debt and any portion of transfers or anything. You have a large over 65 population, so there is a little bit of a tax rate calculation that we have to incur. That's what you'll see, the less frozen share of your revenues, column E. But columns F, G, H are our estimated debt service. I have updated this. So your prior version, we were using an estimated rate of 4.25%. We always like to under promise and over deliver, right? I'd rather be way more conservative when I'm showing you cost estimates. So now we're starting to tighten that interest rate down closer to where we are in real market conditions because we're getting closer to sale. So I have updated this for an interest rate of 3.9%. I'm going to give you a range. I actually think you would be somewhere in the 360 to 390 range. So I'd like to believe that this is still conservative. And that does translate to, from our prior version of 4.25% to what I'm showing now, about 2.4 million less in debt service payments over the life of the bonds. So it keeps getting better. We're in a good position. And then ultimately that brings us to the final column, which is our projected tax rate impact, which is about just over 1 penny for this $50 million. And again, this is only as good as our assumptions used. So in terms of growth, to the extent you grow more, that impact could be less. To the extent our interest rate is lower, that impact could be less as well. So all that being said, we do recommend trying to access the market quickly. So we are in kind of price discovery as we have entered the beginning of the new year. And as the trading, as the firms have opened up their trading books and we're looking to the market conditions right now, they are favorable for you. We are in a favorable rate environment, but we do have volatility. Volatility is our new normal. I've been preaching that for probably the last couple years now. And given the volatility, and I will say, just given that we have large geopolitical issues in play, especially with the investigation of the Fed chairman, right now our markets are non-responsive to that, and there is a lot of demand for municipal bonds. So again, we think it's a very favorable environment. So my recommendation based on your approval today would be that we would go ahead and get these bonds priced as quickly as possible to get in and out of the market. So ultimately what we would be looking to do is probably get your offering document posted by the end of this week for potential pricing, either accelerated next week. We have a holiday in there. So most likely probably the following week thereafter for the best results. But we will be watching the market closely to make sure that we're monitoring the conditions and that they do remain favorable. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Marty?
My question just kind of relates to, okay, let's assume we can do something similar to that. So when does Lisa have $50 million in cash that we can start going to contract firms and starting to lock up contracts?
So if we operate under that timetable, which I just gave you, once the bonds are sold, then they have to go to the Attorney General for approval, but you will receive the money by the end of February.
Okay.
And you know what? I will interject some things because I have Rob and Marty here to back me up on anything that I misspeak. So jump in if I get off course. But one of the things that I want the court to be aware of is that when we go out for this $50 million, when the county does, that we are saying that we reasonably believe that we will expend those funds, at least 85% of those funds in the first 3 years. So that is putting you on track to, like you're saying, Commissioner Stacy, to get contracts going, and it's not just encumbering the funds, it is spending them. So we need to keep that in mind, that be prepared. If you wanted to lower the amount that you're issuing today would be the day to let them know. But the IRS will, this is something that the IRS will look at.
But I appreciate very much you bringing that to our attention, because it says we got to build roads faster, which you're not going to get any fight from me on. But this is based upon numbers that our consultant, ITS, gave us and the time, what they thought they could spend in 3 years, correct?
I believe I did request a list, and I believe you were copied on that, just to clarify with ITS that what they were proposing to you. And if you recall, their question was whether it was encumbered or spent. And so I clarified that yesterday. So it is 85%. Now, what was the wording you used, Rob? Reasonable expectation. So we have a list of projects that will expend $46 million. I think it was rounded up to an even $50 million. So we have projects lined out. We just need to keep jobs moving and make sure that our consultants aware.
I think that meets the reasonable expectation clause. Just from ITS to us, we reasonably expect, based on our consultant's recommendation, that we will be able to expend that money in 3 years. I think we're okay.
That's right, Bobby, and that's exactly why I brought it up, because our auditor has cautioned us on this, which is what's her job. But I want to let those listening here and online know that this is not just a number we pulled out of the air.
And it also answers the question, why don't you just issue it all? Because we can't reasonably expect that we could spend it all prior to the IRS saying it's income.
So I was just going to take us on a little sidetrack. The PIO, Jim Bartow, and myself, Erica, and GIS is working on a sub-site that's going to be integrated into our website that explains where all this money is being spent, and it's interactive mapping where you can go to, this is the project meets and bounds, this is the precinct that it's in, this is why we're doing it, how much money we're doing it. We've kind of been slow rolling it just because we have to get through this process and we can't really, turn that site public. But I would just recommend all of you commissioners to meet with Jim and just go through kind of the framework of what we're building, kind of see the vision. But it's going to be really nice because they'll be able to go to the Trip 21, click on it, it'll show all the projects, and they can look on an interactive map and literally see the exact meets and bounds and a description of everything we're spending money on. So, with this aggressive effort, it's $50 million, but it's actually closer to $60 million that we're trying to spend in the next 3 years because we have 08 and 04 bond money that we're going to be putting into play as well. It's just a lot of money to be spending in a very short amount of time, so I wanted to make sure the general public could follow what we're doing because it's a lot of projects.
I like that, Commissioner Stacy. And also my understanding is that our consultant is looking at adding new subcontractors that are going to be going through Lisa's, the auditor's office, so that we can hopefully find some individuals that will be able to get these projects off the ground faster than some of the ones we've used in the past. So that's
and just to clarify, it's 85% of the reasonable expectation. So, you're not guaranteeing you're spending all $50 million in 3 years, but.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have another question.
Correct, and plus earnings.
What do you mean by plus earnings?
Any interest earnings.
Well, you have to spend the interest too.
So the money will be sitting in the accounts earning interest until you spend it. So that's needs to be
Okay.
as well.
One other question, and I appreciate you redoing these, and every time I've asked you, you've given me this, and the numbers are getting better and better for our county, and I like that. I've had some commentary back and forth with Rob and Lisa about the document itself and the changes they made. I'm fine with, except for one question I had, and I keep getting everybody points to you for the answer. Okay, in the ordinance, it says that we are approving these bonds at an interest rate up to 5%. Mm-hmm. And I know that's because there's fluctuations in the market, but 5%, I don't think I've ever seen a sheet like this with anywhere near 5% on it. And I'm wondering, do we need to keep that at 5%? Because that number is different, a lot different than 3.6 to 3.9 in far as its impact on our county goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can subjectively reduce that rate, so you do have that option. We like to keep that rate because it sets an upward limit, right? It's a maximum ceiling for your interest rate. We don't want to handicap the court so that you lose flexibility should there be a major market disruption. Now, what is the likelihood of a major market disruption? If we entered into war tomorrow and our markets halted, then it reasonably could jump to 5% very easily. So we have seen that in the past. So we try to offer enough flexibility there, but without going over where we think you would reasonably want to continue with your projects in terms of expenditure. So that being said, given that we are looking at a shorter time frame, because I have expressed that our intention is to get into the market as quickly as possible, I do think we have some flexibility if you would like to reduce that rate slightly. But as your advisor, I would hesitate.
I get it. No,
Yeah,
I totally get it, and I understand the need for being careful here. I would be. Do we have any idea what if there was a major market disruption, what this would do to our INS tax rate if we went at 5%. I mean, right now we're looking at a little over a penny, as you said. And that's with what I consider to be very conservative growth rate projections you've got here. So I'm thinking it'll be better than that. But can you give us a range of what it would be at 5%?
I don't think it would be above 2 pennies.
Okay.
So we were running this previously at a 4.25. This is rough math off the top of my head. So, but I'm just looking at that. I don't think you would be more than 2 pennies at the 5%.
It was 1.8 at 4.7 aroundish when I talked to you over a year ago to start the process.
Right.
So I think you're right in line.
So we'd still be under 2 cents, you think?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that being the case, I'm not going to put the pressure on you, but let's sell them fast. Okay.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the issuance and sale of Rockwall County, Texas permanent improvement bonds, Series 2026, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $50 million, levying a tax in payment thereof, providing for the award of the sale thereof in accordance with the specified parameters, authorizing the execution and delivery of a purchase agreement and a paying agent/registrar agreement, approving the official statement and enacting other provisions, and assigning Lisa Constant Wiley as the signing agent.
I'll second that motion.
Got my motion, got a second by Commissioner Lichty. Any further questions? If you'll register your votes now, please. It passes 5-0. Thank you, commissioners and everyone.